Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope on Channels Television. I'm Anne Nwawadu. On the program today, we have a chat with the DG and CEO of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency on the organization's efforts on sustainability. Once again, welcome. Let's tell you more about NIMASA. The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency NIMASA is the apex regulatory and promotional maritime agency in Nigeria, created from the merger of National Maritime Authority and Joint Maritime Labour Industrial Council, which were former parastatals of the Federal Ministry of Transport on the 1st of August 2006. The agency was established primarily for the administration of maritime safety, seafarer standards and security, shipping regulation and much more. It is also committed to improving the lives of Nigerians with its corporate social responsibility projects across the country. Time now to hear from the DG and CEO of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Bashir Jamo. All right, let me begin by congratulating you on your recent honor and awards as OFR. I also recall in 2020 you got the Zik Prize in Public Policy, but I'd like to ask, is this in any way connected to the good things or the reformations you've done in NIMASA so far since you stepped into this office?
Well, thank you very much, Anne. You know, every award, the organizations that organize the award, they have their own criteria of assessing individual before giving him the award. And if you listen to Mr. President during the award for the OFR, he made mention in the national single award that the country can recognize an individual for his own efforts. But the two references we made, the Zik Prize Award and the National Honor Award, I think basically has to do with some of the, mindset, so to say, or the agenda we set when we came into office in 2020. We try as much as possible to focus more attention to the core mandate of the agency. That's why we now introduce the Tripod S. And when we introduce the Tripod S, just like every government will say we have 3-point agenda, 5-point agenda, 9-point agenda. So we came up with Tripod agenda. And that agenda entails maritime safety, maritime security, and shipping development. This tripod agenda centered on the entire 4 laws given to us by the federal government to implement, which dwell on the NIMASA Act, the Merchant Shipping Act, the Cabotage Act, the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences Act. I believe most of the bodies and committees, including the National Committee on the National Honor, they must have looked at the progress and achievement we recorded so far under the Tripod S and decided to give the award. Now, if you can recollect some of the interviews I conducted, I have dedicated the award to the stakeholders. Those stakeholders include our internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders. To the internal stakeholders, they have tried as much as possible to give us the necessary support at the team to ensure that we achieve certain milestone within shortest possible time that warrant those bodies to appreciate and recognize what we are doing. So today, the recognition we receive, the improvement we have, is not only for me as an individual, it's for the agency and for Nigeria in general.
Some will wonder if government agencies like yours pay attention to corporate social responsibility. So talk us through some of those projects or initiatives you've been able to carry out over the years.
Of course, NIMASA this week, and that you normally aired every Friday. You must have come across number of intervention under our own corporate social responsibility. But I think a lot need to be done in terms of coverage and in terms of sending public information about our own corporate social responsibility. As a responsible organization, we must be ups and doing in terms of community service and in terms of delivering our own corporate social responsibilities mandate. We spend huge amount of money in terms of delivering our own corporate social responsibility. They say charity begins at home. Within our own environment and within APAPA, we do give a number of corporate responsibilities. For instance, just last year, we donated 3 classroom blocks to the APAPA local government in one of their schools. And then if you go around, what we try to do is to make sure that we address the issue of insecurity. Sometimes our staffs will close late. Before you know, these hoodlums go and hide themselves under the cover of darkness and attack motorists. So we try to take a look at security lights. If you go from Marine Beach down to Area B police station, you will see our corporate social responsibility street lights. And then you move up to Point Road, you will see our corporate social responsibility lights. The road linking to this shopping mall, ShopRite, we also put security light there. Up to down to, I think, Mary Road. The entire Mary Road, we have provided security lights there. This Dakar Road, we also look at Ududua Road. Our target is to make sure that the entire Papa will provide a solar panel light. I think Pashola administration was the one that did the security lights within that Papa. But with that time, we do have problem with power. So what we did is to ensure that we provide an alternative of solar lights, so that when those security lights that uses the national grid is out of place, these lights will be off and doing. And then secondly, we divided our own corporate social responsibility into twofold. The category A, which deals with IDPs. Under the IDPs, we have 4 categories of corporate social responsibility intervention. The first, those living in the IDPs. So what we do, we provide them a kind of sleeping materials, mattresses, sometimes beddings, food, and other related things that they can use for their own well-being while in IDP. That is category A. Category B, to those who are okay, they have got what they want to get and they want to leave the IDP. So we have to create something for them to utilize in terms of their well-being after leaving the IDP. That's for those who are above working class, or those who cannot secure a job, or those who cannot go to school. So what we did, we give them a lot of interventions in terms of Okada, those who can ride Okada. We gave them Keke Napep, We give them a grinding machine. Some we bought deep freezers for them. And some we do give them clippers, the young generations that they can do barbing. And then to the ladies, we provide hair salon kits for them to go and open salon. So this is the second category. To those who do go to schools, we provide an interventions in terms of computers, in terms of textbooks, in terms of even chairs and tables for schools and other things. This escalates to the 36 states. In most of the cases, we do give it to the state governors. I think we will provide that statistics for you. So this is category A. Then category B, we have the capital project. The capital project, we allocated zone in 6 geopolitical zones. For instance, in the northwest and the southwest, we have just ordered the building construction of maritime institution in the University of Lagos. So they are going to commence now. I think you will have to visit the site. Apart from that, we are going to award skill acquisition center or vocational training center, depending on the agreement we have. In this, there are a lot of challenges. When we train them on this skill acquisition, the problems we do face after they graduate, what next? Assuming they couldn't get a job, that they will have to utilize the skill they acquire from this skill acquisition center. What do? So what we are doing is to make sure that we have the kits. As soon as you finish, we give you some fund to rent a shop or to rent an office for you to start the business, and we hand over the kits to you. So this is the second category. Now, under this category, as I told you, we have zones. We have in the southwest, we have in Lagos. In the southeast, we just awarded the contract for the building of Maritime Institute in Anambra State, and in Enugu. Then in the northwest, we have Kaduna State University, where we are building a kind of theater hall and hostel for the students. And then we have Skill Acquisition Center also in Kaduna State. That is in the northwest. And then in the north central, we have IBB Lapai, where we are building the Maritime Institution also. Some of these buildings, we reach up to 90% completion. We will provide you with that. Now, I finished with North Central. Now, Northeast. We are now taking Northeast. We are giving them Skill Acquisition Center, and we are going to provide a solar power that can power the water system of the entire entire Maiduguri water distribution system. That's for the Northeast. Then we have South-South. The South-South, we just awarded the contract for Skill Acquisition Center in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. And also we have a Maritime Training Institute, which they call it Center of Logistics and Transportation in University of Port Harcourt. Also, we have so many interventions in the Maritime University, Okerenkoko. We have also security light provided in Okerenkoko, as well as Science and Technical College, Okaluba, also in South-South. So in a nutshell, we divided it into 3: short-term, medium-term, and the long-term activities. So that's what we do.
We have more for you in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The World Maritime Day had the theme Global Push Towards Reducing Emissions from Shipping Activities. There was also a discussion on adopting modern technology. Let's find out NIMASA's position on this from the DG and CEO, Dr. Bashir Jamo.
Well, I think that's a very key area. If you look at the NIMASA vision, our ambition is to make sure that we become the leading maritime administration in Africa, advancing global best practices. The imbalance between the African countries and the developed countries when it comes to the issue of marine environment management is so wide because of two issues. One, what you mentioned, the issue of technology. Two, the issue of finances and funding. Access to finance and funding in Africa is always difficult because of the nature of our own economy. The economy is so much saturated, we are trying to see what we can do to make sure that we have food, shelter, dress, and other things like that. So nobody that is hungry will start thinking to go and invest on the issue of marine environment. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria addressed United Nations sometimes in September, and he dwelled on the national strategy of our own action plan in terms of realization of the greenhouse emissions by the year 2050. As far as our own area is concerned, we now divided it into three categories. First of all, to align ourselves with the national action plan of the strategy as announced by Mr. President. And then the second, the technical and financial backing of the realization of the greenhouse emissions by the year 2050. And then finally, the regional, continental, and international level cooperations to make sure that we are at the same level, at par with those other parts of the world. At the national level, we developed our own marine litter action plan, which we forwarded it to the International Maritime Organization, which has been approved. We have been implementing. We want to ensure that we protect our own marine environment as well as aquatic lives of our own seas and ocean to make sure that we don't have polluted waters that can affect those aquatic lives. And then at the level of the agency, we try to introduce what we call marine litter marshals. This is a policy that brings about employment opportunity for over 1,600 Nigerians, which they are there helping us to track any issues that has to do with the marine pollution, oil and chemical spill in our own waters, as well as, protecting the issues of the pollutants that mostly comes from the hinterland to our own seas and oceans. We have just reactivate our own vessels that deals with these marine litters and then debris, as well as issues of our own labs that from time to time we do go and test our own waters and see what is wrong with it.
Let's talk about the enforcement of integrated national security and waterways protection infrastructure, which you have tagged Deep Blue Projects. What is this about?
The Federal Ministry of Transportation, because of the incessant attack of our vessels in our own waterways, introduced the Deep Blue Project and forwarded it to the Federal Executive Council, and the Federal Executive Council approved it and direct the implementing agency to be the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. And in that Deep Blue Project, the Deep Blue Project consists of platforms, land, air, and sea, so that we can address holistically all the challenges we are having in terms of maritime insecurity that we are experiencing in this country. So on land, we have what we call Command and Control Center. The Command and Control Center is situated at our office annex at Kirikiri is the brain box of this particular project. All the asset, all the platforms, all the human elements, they are under different platforms, and the command and control center sees all those platforms and interconnect it through satellites. Under the air, we have platforms 5, 3 special mission helicopters and 2 special mission aircrafts. In the event we have any attack or threat, and our land and sea platforms cannot reach, we will have to use either aircraft or we have to use the helicopters. Then the command and control will now transmit the message to this platform under the air platforms. And the air platform will now respond to such attack or threat that we are having. Under the sea, we have 2 special mission vessels with dynamic positioning inbuilt facility that they can stand or withstand a kind of long stay at the high sea, getting or transmitting data from the high sea of any threats that can come using the facilities they have. Now, we also have unmanned air drones. These unmanned air drones can travel up to 100 kilometers to get to a place, stop at that place for at least 10 hours, taking data, snapping pictures, sending the pictures to both the platforms, and especially the command and control. Now, on the land, we have over 600 trained personnel from the Nigerian Army, from the Nigerian Navy, from the Nigerian Air Force, from DSS, from Civil Defense, from Marine Police, and now we are now co-opting the Nigerian Immigration. We are also having the NDLE. We are about to sign an agreement with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture so that Department of Fisheries can come in and we address the issues of illegal and unauthorized fishing that we have in our own territorial waters. Now, since we started in 2020, by third quarter of 2020, we have got the issue of attack in our own territorial water reduced from average 1 per day to almost 0 per month. And by the third quarter of 2020, we have recorded a milestone that has never been achieved in the last 27 years, since 1994. The international community has to remove Nigeria from the piracy list that we used to be. In those days, we were attacked at the most dangerous waters to trade in the world. Now, by March 2022, the list of Nigeria was removed from that list. So we have a number of successes recorded, recognized by the international community as of today.
There was an announcement made by the federal government on working to ensure shipments of goods and services coming into Nigeria no longer attract risk insurance. Is there any updates on that?
And thank you for that question. Second quarter of 2021, we decided to champion an advocacy of removing Nigeria from the war insurance list. War risk insurance is a premium put in place in a country where there is war. Nigeria, we are not into war, but because of the issue of attack of our own vessels and other things, any vessel that is coming to Nigeria, you have to pay about 3 different types of premiums, which they target as war risk insurance. So we lodge a complaint. We are not at war. Why are you charging all this war? They gave us a number of examples, especially Kenya. See, Kenya has been on the list for over 25 years. Now, here we are. Since the end of the 2020, we have not been experiencing any attack. So why should we continue to pay this war risk insurance? The amount they are charging is so enormous that nobody can believe it. But we will continue to pressurize the international community. Any opportunity we have, we will take our own matter to the higher level and make sure that Nigerians will not continue to pay unduly charges that are not supposed to charge.
So let's also discuss the Maritime Labour e-platform, which you recently unveiled. What are you hoping to achieve with this platform?
The essence of our e-platform is for us to have a very seamless way of maintaining our own data for our own dock workers. The issue of their certification and training, you can have access to it easily. In a short while from now, we will now get to the level of SID, Seafarers Identification Document, whereby it's acknowledged and acceptable everywhere in the world.
Where would you see this organization maybe in another 10 years, let's just say?
Well, in the last 2 years, what we have been doing is to refocus the agency towards a professional agency that is acceptable with international best practices and global best practices. Within the next 10 years, I would like to see NIMASA as a reference point. As of today, we are still a reference point to so many regional bodies and even continental bodies.
As a family man, I mean, you've listed so many goals, you have objectives, you have things you want to do with your organization, and I'm sure personally, how do you even find time for family and maybe doing things that you like?
Now, there is this saying that if you did not take your dark hair to the sun, then you will take your gray hair to the sun. Meaning that if when you are at young age, you do not work hard to achieve what you want to achieve, so during your old age, you will continue to work hard to achieve what you want to achieve. It's quite not easy, but I would like to say that we thank God. We don't have much to complain about on both sides. On the side, on discharge of the responsibility and the trust given to us by Nigeria and Nigerians, by the leadership of Nigerians, and on the side of our own family. They tend to understand the intricacies and the issues attached to the responsibility given to us. And we really thank God, and we continue to pray for the success of our dear country, Nigeria.
On that note, we end Kaleidoscope for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. See you next time.